Sorry about that, babe.
Alright, now we're going to be doing some Queen League action here on the Master Class difficulty with the Fire Stingray again. Just full disclosure, this is my first attempt at Master difficulty, and I ran with it. I ended up finishing. It wasn't the best, it's pretty sloppy to be honest with you, but we get it done and that's all that matters. Basically right before this I cleared Expert mode, and then I'm like, screw it, let's, try to do Master and see how it goes. So a lot of the same strats are going to be involved. Here you can see we have this little circle. That's like the major gimmick of this track, as well as the jump boosts here, which again we're going to be holding down to get maximum height and velocity, as well as maintaining speed when we land. But I saw at the beginning of the race we got bumped by our competitors, which is something that we try to do in almost every race with the Fire Stingray due to the slow acceleration rate. And other tips to keep in mind: if your power is going low, make sure you stop off at the pit stops. Do your best to avoid the other racers and obstacles to keep your speed high. And there you saw another tip, which is transcendent throughout all the races. One of the main areas to use your turbo boost is through areas of rough patches. That way you could just drive over them without losing any speed. So as soon as we finish this circle up here, we're just gonna hit that turbo boost. Looks like I start doing the jumps just because, but you don't have to when you're doing the turbo boost. And I will admit, as time has gone on, I actually quite enjoy this track. It's fairly simple, but there's something about it that's very intriguing to me. It doesn't quite fit my top 5 tracks like I had on my my short that I did for my top 5 favorite tracks in F-Zero, but it's up there. I'd say it's possible it's like number 6 or number 7 for me. Either way, not too difficult of a track, as long as you get the feel of that circle turn, whether you're going left or right, doesn't really matter. There's really not much to this track, as long as you're using your turbo boosts accordingly and hitting those jumps as well. So again, the further you go along in the race here, if you're in first, your goal is just try not to bump into people. And if you do, oh, that's right, I remember that. Oof, maron. Okay, so yeah, I think we finished second here, but it could have been way worse. Yeah, Dr. Stewart's way too far ahead, but yeah, that could have been way worse. We were going so smooth there too, but that's what I'm trying to say about Master Mode, man. It's like, it is unforgiving. And believe it or not, guys, one thing that I finally realized after watching these videos, there's always like parts of the course that seem like they're closed off, and it's because they are. For example, Port Town 1 and Port Town 2 are the same course, except Port Town 2 has more of the closed off sections are no longer closed off. And it just never really sunk into my head for some reason, despite me playing them over and over again until now. Like that section over there, that's where you have to go in Port Town 2, and that's like the most difficult part of it. Obviously it makes sense, right? It's just the continuation of the same tracks, but for some reason it just never sunk into my head. But anyways, back to the strats here. Main thing you have to worry about are these magnets. I like to just kind of stay off to the side and sort of diagonal. Pretty tight turn there. But overall this track's actually not that bad, because like I said, Port Town 2 is a considerable nightmare compared to this one. As long as you're hitting these boosts, again by holding the down button the entire way through, you should be fine. And it looks like I'm stacking up my turbos just in case I run into some problems like I did there. Surprised I didn't actually kick that turbo. Using the turbo through the magnet areas is actually a pretty decent idea, but I chose not to. And I only use it, I guess, when Dr. Stewart laps me, but that's fine. That's fine. So yeah, pretty much just hit your boost there, guys. If you get kind of thrown off, make sure you use your turbojet boost. And, just keep your head about you. Try not to hit those magnets clearly. It can be tough, as you saw the drone kind of got in my way there. Luckily, this is Port Town 1 and not Port Town 2. If that was Port Town 2, that might be a rip situation. I guess I'll kind of talk about some future things here on this particular set of courses. This was my first attempt at Master. I hadn't really... If there are tracks that I'm not super duper familiar with, it's actually Queen League. I've spent more time with Knight and King. So as such, you know, obviously the races aren't totally tight. We actually do suffer some deaths in the White Lands. I edit those out, but we actually came very close to not finishing. I think we died like 2 or 3 times in the final race, but we'll get there when we get there. Now we're at Red Canyon 1, which Red Canyon 2 is actually one of my favorites as well that didn't make the top 5. So between that, you know, in the first race in the Queen League, those are probably 6 and 7. But this is like a dulled down version, clearly, because it's, you know, Red Canyon 1. Instead of going over that way, which had a pretty cool shortcut, you just kind of cut through, and it makes the race a lot shorter, again, which makes sense, right? Because you're trying to make it more difficult as you progress through the different versions of it. But overall, yeah, these turns are probably the toughest part of this particular one. Make those turns and hit your jump boosts here. And this might be another candidate for, if you want to use your turbo, I'd recommend through here, or just on the last straightaway. Can't really go wrong using your turbo boost anywhere near that end spot there, starting with the ziggy-zag rough patches and then these straightaways. So relatively straightforward track once again. I feel like things don't get too difficult, even on Master and Expert, until you get to the White Lands, which kind of incorporates some different racing strategies. And as you can see, you know, obviously by my death counts, I had a little bit of trouble without a lot of practice, but it's fine. So we're in first, so the name of the game is maintaining that lead. The good thing about this is with these jumps, and especially in the second version with the shortcut, there's plenty of opportunities to gain max speed back, so never worry. And you know, if you want to be safe, you know, use your turbo boost through that end spot like I had mentioned. Final lap, so the name of the game, guys, is trying to not crash as much as possible. As soon as I say that, of course, we ricochet off the walls and we get bumped around 8,000 times. And just like that, guys, Master Mode is unforgiving. We are not in a great spot where we're going to hit that boost and see what we can do. And I believe, yep, oh, we got a very, very clutch bounce back of Pico there, who is poised to be first, but it was not to be, as Samurai Goro got his shit together and finished first. And now, going into the infamous White Lands. I actually like these courses, but they are pretty difficult. I love the aesthetic and the colors of them. Very wintry looking and also futuristic at the same time. So what makes these courses weird or interesting or difficult, however you want to look at it, are these things. You kind of got to take these like wide turns, and it's those spots where if you get bumped, you can go really out of sorts. Luckily, right after that, as long as you know, you maintain yourself, you have those jumps to get your speed back. And there you saw another one of those particular floor areas where if you get bumped by a drone, you can get spun out into oblivion. Thankfully, if you take the turns, you know, kind of short enough, you'll be fine with that one. I like to start turning pretty early and be bumping my acceleration and letting off as well to not go super duper fast, and that way I always find that I land in that safe spot. Here, it's just a matter of making that turn. Even though there is that stuff on the floor that doesn't necessarily do anything to you, the only time it does anything to you is if you get bumped by a computer opponent. But otherwise, just make the turn normally. This is the tough one. If you make this turn poorly, even without people bumping into you, it could be a bad time. So again, going over the jumps there, we're going to try to make our turn without bumping into anybody, and we don't, thankfully. And yeah, that's really all there is to it on this particular track. I don't like using my turbo boost on this track. There might be a spot that would be recommended. Obviously, like I said, most straightaways are typically pretty good to use turbo boost, but with all these kind of weird turns and the ability to bump into people and get thrown off course, sometimes it's better to be more conservative. And as you can see, I'm still in first place, so conservative seems to be winning here, as long as you just keep your wits about you and avoid people. Final lap, solely in first place with 3 turbo boosts. We're feeling good. Did a little bit wider there, but it's not that big of a deal. hit our jumps to maintain our speed. Don't land out of the track. That was a little, yep, I remember that. We went a little wide there, but again, thankfully we have our boost, which I use here. A little sloppy. That's probably the best spot to use the turbo boost, but again, I wouldn't really recommend it much unless you're desperate or a serious expert. And now the infamous Whiteland 2, you could probably see that my lives jumped all the way down. I think we died 3 times here. But to start the race, we try to get our jump bumps, if you will. We got 1 at least, so it's not too bad. So you're going to see a similar turn here. That was kind of at the end of the race, the last one. And then you're going to see these. I like to cut over these at a slow speed. I feel like if you try to avoid them and go around, you pretty much just end up kind of getting screwed up all the time. So I wouldn't really recommend it. And here is a very tough jump, which I go over in a short. In order to get over that, you have to be holding down the entire way. And if you're not going fast enough, you have to use a turbo boost. So let's put it this way. If you're in the first lap and you don't have a turbo boost, and you're not going fast enough, even holding down you might not get over, but otherwise hold down there, and that'll get you over that jump. A lot of people who haven't really played much before don't realize that you could hold down. Seriously, so it's a good tip. But you saw earlier in the race there, and even there, that last turn there is kind of crappy. The way that you could bounce off of that wall sort of sends you careening, if you will, let alone if a CPU opponent bumps into you. And so far, this hasn't been that great of a race, to be honest with you. You can see me struggling quite a bit, which would make sense, right? Because if we already died a bunch of times, you know, we're not that great at it. But as long as you employ these strategies in practice, you should be fine. I'd say the 2 most important parts of this race, especially if you're used to that kind of blue ground turning from the first one, is that big jump there, again, holding down or using a turbo boost if you feel like you're going too slow, and going through those 2 darker blue damage areas that are coming up. Take a quick, slow turn through them, and that minimizes them. Also, that spot right there, if you do hit it at a higher speed, you can kind of ricochet off and keep driving, which is also pretty nice. But yeah, that's all there is to it. I say that as if it's easy. It's certainly not. Lots of opportunities to take damage here. There's also lots of opportunities to get completely just spun out around these, you know, blue floor corners, like here. But as long as you make your turn good enough and you avoid people, you should be fine. Another place, obviously, to be concerned about is jumping over that gap, especially if there's other people driving around, because you could fly out of the course. Which actually, one of my deaths was I got flown out of the course. And that was that. We hung on. It was getting rough there down the stretch, but we held on to, I believe, what was it, 2-1-1-1-2? Unfortunately, we did die quite a bit, so this was not a deathless run. This was still a challenge run, because Master Mode is a secret difficulty, but it was not a deathless run, unfortunately. But you know what? Good enough for me, guys. Like I said, as long as you finish the circuit, or the set of races, if you will, with a 3-2-1 finish in each race, and as long as you have 1 life left at the end, you beat it. So, yes, could I touch it up? Yes, could I do a lot better? No, I'm not going to. I'm just not. I'm done, man. I put my time in with F-Zero. I thought about doing BS F-Zero, the Statellaview thing, but I think I'm a little burnt out from F-Zero at the moment. So anyways, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and maybe you got some tips to help you on your expert and or master difficulty runs. And if you did, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Do my best to reply to all comments on all videos, and stay tuned for some more F-Zero action. Take care.